All right. Hey there, everyone. This is Bria with Bulb, and I am so excited to introduce Chelsea Scott. She is an art teacher from Sterling High School out in Colorado, and man, she has done some amazing things on Bulb with her students, and I'm so excited for her to be able to share some of her tips and tricks and just kind of insight into why digital portfolios are so important to her and her art classroom. So Chelsea, I'm going to hand it over to you, and sounds great.
Thank you, Bria, for that wonderful introduction. So,
Sure.
as Bria said, I am a high school art teacher in Sterling, Colorado. When I first started teaching here, I was the only art teacher. So it was me against the world with my 150 students. And I really started using Bulb sort of for a selfish reason because I knew that I was going to have a teacher evaluation that I had to do that we all just love and appreciate as teachers. And I knew that part of that for art teachers especially was that I needed to be able to show the growth of my students. So I needed to have some kind of tool that I could easily show my principal, okay, this is where my kids started, and after 9 months in my class, this is where they went. So we had a professional development one of the first days I was at the school, and a gentleman from UNC, University of Northern Colorado, came and talked to us about Bulb. And I immediately thought, yep, that's the thing, because a portfolio is such an easy way to have a beautiful display of everything a kid has done in a class. So, and it just goes perfectly with art, of course, because we're always making portfolios. That's part of what we do. So I started on that journey that fall of my first year, and it has blossomed into this brilliant tool that I use almost every single day in my classroom. And I use it to teach ceramics and photography, graphic design. I've had drawing and all kinds of other things on there too. So it's a tool that I use across all of my classes. And I'm really pleased with what my students have done with it, because it really just started out as a small idea, and it's turned into this amazing tool where the kids can document everything that they've made over their high school career and can easily show prospective colleges or even prospective bosses and internships the things that they've been able to create just in high school.
So talk to us a little bit, like, what do your students put in Bulb? Is it just their final products? Is it reflections? Talk to us a little bit about the things that they're putting in their own portfolios.
So I really focus on reflection for every content area that I teach. So it depends on what the class is. So for ceramics, we work on things for quite a long time. It takes the kids 3 to 6 weeks to create a project or a sculpture with the time that we have. So I have the kids actually take pictures of their work as they go along. And part of the requirement is they have to upload examples of what their idea was, so either sketch or source images, and then they have several pictures of the building process, and then they upload a final picture at the end. And then, of course, after all the pictures they upload, they also include some writing, depending on, I kind of use it as a quiz almost. So I pull out of things from the lecture and the presentation, ask them about the artists that we covered and the choices that they made, the problems that they had, and they just get to reflect on what they learned through the whole process. For the digital arts, it's a little bit less about the process and more about the final product and the reflection, because there's not really, a good place to stop and upload this picture I took, and then this picture I took, and then I got this picture. So for those classes, it really works best to just have the final product on there. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what kind of technology access your students have. Do you guys have one-to-one devices, or how are they doing this on Bulb?
So we do not have one-to-one. We are very far away from one-to-one. So we actually have one lab in our school that can fit my entire class in. So I generally have kids from 20 to 30 kids in my classrooms, and we only have one that can fit my kids. So it was a bit of a balancing act in the beginning to get lab time and to get kids in where they could use it. But now Bulb has developed so much more, and they can use it on their phones a lot more easily than they could 4 years ago. So the platform has really come a long way. So they have found a lot of success in just using their cell phone in my ceramics class. And then, of course, in photography, we have a digital lab for that. So we actually get the lab time. So it's been an evolution as far as that goes. And I have a few computers in my classroom that I begged, borrowed, and stole from other places. So that was kind of where I started. I just had 3 laptops that I kind of procured. And then, as the platform increased and improved, then they've really been able to use their phone. And, a lot of the kids, that's their only technology is their cell phone. And they can still make Bulb work. They still make beautiful pages. And the ease of uploading their pictures is a lot easier that way too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
That's great. And we'll have some more things coming out this summer that's going to make mobile access even more accessible and exciting. So those be some fun announcements to wait for.
Well, you guys are always coming up with, it's like you can read my mind with the things that I need to improve the accessibility for my students. And every time I go in, there seems to be something new that just makes it better. So it has improved every single year.
Well, we love that. Well, I think we take a lot of pride in trying to stay in touch with our teachers and students and users and what they're kind of wanting and how they're using Bulb and all that. So we appreciate that for sure. So talk to us a little bit. So your students are creating portfolios and they're putting their work in their process and you're grading that work. Do you use a learning management system? Do you use Bulb groups? How do you do that workflow in terms of them turning it in?
I use the Bulb groups the most. Okay. We don't really use Google Classroom in our school, so I know that there's some things going on there, and maybe I'll have to get on Google Classrooms. But for the most part, I just use the groups mechanism. I have everybody in either Ceramics 2, Ceramics 3, photography, or graphic design, and I can easily just go into my profile, click on the groups tab, and I have all of my students on my roster. So that element has made it really easy to organize, and I don't really have to have anything other than my gradebook tab open and my Bulb tab open, and I can do all of my grading anywhere. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's really helpful.
And then you started us out by kind of talking about how you got started on Bulb to kind of curate some of those examples of student growth and demonstrating that. And then it sounds like you're starting to use Bulb to actually put lessons and resources out there. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about the kinds of things that you're putting up and how students are accessing your personal Bulb page as a classroom tool?
Absolutely. So you're right. In the beginning, it was mostly just a reflection tool. So the things I posted were their questions for reflection and all of their instructions. But I really got into this idea of flipping my classroom because of the type of class structure that we have. Since it's such a small school and I was the only teacher for the first couple of years, I taught ceramics 2, 3, and 4 all in the same class period. And now I have those separated out a little bit more, but I still have multiple levels in each of my classes. So photo 1 and 2 are all together. And so that makes it difficult to be able to really do lecture and lessons for both of your grade levels at the same time. So as Bulb has evolved, I have really used it as my online classroom portfolio. So for photo 2, they're the ones that are the most online integrated that I have on Bulb. And every time we do a new project, everything is on a new Bulb page for them. So my classroom instructions, when it's time to have new lessons for them and I'm busy with photo 1, they go on and start to do some of the learning themselves. They go on and look at the videos that I've uploaded. So you can easily embed YouTube videos. I can embed a Google slide presentation if I want. I can give them printouts and put questions on Bulb for them to answer. They can either type them or handwrite them, whichever one works best for them. So it's become like an all-in-one lesson program for me where I can have absolutely everything that I want right at their fingertips, and they can look at everything just as if I was able to go through it with them. So it's really helped me with this tricky scenario of having to teach multiple classes at the same, class time. And I still feel like the kids are getting a lot more out of the class with being able to use that kind of a flipped structure through Bulb.
Yeah, I love that. What an incredible job. We'll post the link of your portfolio because your resources are so dynamic and great. But it really speaks to the teachers out there that they're trying to manage and juggling these different courses and being able to make it accessible and differentiate for all your different students in your class. So whether you have teachers out there that are trying to teach ceramics 1, 2, and 3 and one period, or maybe just trying to differentiate because they just have a wide variance of students and their learning needs in their
Absolutely.
class. They can kind of utilize Bulb for that. So I love that. Well, I kind of wanted to wrap up and say, so then your students are creating these portfolios. What do you think the outcome, besides that interaction, with you, how are they using it? Are they using it to get into college? Are they using it in other classes? Like, what do you see in terms of like student success or changes in students in terms of their growth because of using kind of a portfolio structure?
So it's really interesting in public school because the kids are really used to pen and paper tests, and they're not used to this idea of really reflecting on what they have to, of what they just learned. They regurgitate and they turn it in and then they move on. And so it's been really fascinating to watch my kids that I've had for multiple years, because now I've had students for 4 years, and these students who've been with me for 4 years, they are laughing at the things that they made when they were freshmen, because they can go back into their Bulb page and they can look at what they call silly things that they've made, their crap, yeah. And they can compare it to everything that they made after that. And I just hear them talk about all the time about how much growth they make and how they love to see that. And, so besides that, of just being able to have that kind of, feather in your cap as a teacher, that you can see your kids actually contemplating their decisions. You can see them thinking about how their learning has changed themselves and their creativity. And so that, that alone is worth it. But now I've had students who have everything in one place, and they're now getting scholarships and they're getting accepted to design schools based on their work just from their Bulb pages. So they don't have to go through a whole other process in the end of making a website and making all of these different things. They can simply use the new tool, the asset library. They can go on and make one page that has all of the work they're the most proud of. They don't have to keep multiple devices. They have it all in one place. And I've had several kids, not as many as I'd like, because we're very rural, so I don't have a ton of kids going on to school for art, but the ones who have, they've gotten scholarships and they've gotten accepted based on just their artwork that they have stored in Bulb. So it's a benefit to them more than anything else.
Yeah, I love that. And I love, research and statistics show that portfolios really help students understand themselves as a learner. And so it's great to hear from you as a teacher that you're experiencing that in real life and saying, yeah, it's true, I'm watching this happen.
Yeah, it's just great to see them, make that conclusion for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, for them to see their own growth, I mean, that's such a bright spot. And then to see new opportunities for students, especially in a rural, area where the opportunities may seem a little bit more limited, that having that portfolio and that, that digital realm that really tells their story, and that they're getting scholarships. That's so exciting to be able to see that happen. And hopefully they're continuing to keep their Bulb portfolio into art school, so you can kind of keep watching them as they go on.
Yep. I have a few students that I've gone on and looked, and they have a new just for fun or my hobbies, and their new things that they're adding to Bulb. So yeah. I think it's a lifelong tool that they can use forever.
Well, I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Chelsea.
You're welcome.
Of a teacher, and we just appreciate you as a Bulb user, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much for all that you do to support us. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.